Hey, Kevin here, Top 100 Financial Advisor, two-time author, one-time bestseller, and we are here to discuss the stock market. I'm going to see if my camera wants to work for us. Hopefully it does. As I'm getting the camera ready and fixed, go ahead and hit the share button, and hopefully this works for us. It was working right before I got on, and now it is not. I dislike these things sometimes. All right, so we're going to continue without the camera. As always, quick commercial. You want to check out the Investors Toolkit. It is my premier course. It helps you to, one, find out how to start investing, where to start investing, and I have some tips and tricks to help you to reduce the chance of you losing money in the stock market. You can't take all the losses away, but you can reduce them and you can set yourself up for success. It's a very easy, simple system. As you can scroll down here, it is a 7-step process. I give you a free guide, and excuse me, I have all the other things that you need to know, how and where to open an account, because a lot of people get stuck. When you get stuck, you don't invest. When you don't invest, you can't grow your money, and you know what happens after that, because I don't think you should pay bills and die. So I want to make sure that you can build a legacy, have your money work harder than you do, and make sure that you can achieve financial freedom on your own terms. So I broke everything out into 7 easy to follow steps: when to buy, when to sell. A lot of people ask me that question as well. So you get hours and hours of content, buildingbread.com/tools. Now, aside from that, I want to go ahead and pull up the whiteboard here because I'm upset that I can't see the camera. Make sure you go ahead and hit share. These tips will be quick, they'll be simple, and it's just 3 of them. So we're going to get started. And then also feel free to ask any questions that you may have, and I will answer those as best I can while we're here. Also, it looks like you can hear me, so that's great. I'm always worried about this new microphone that I may mess up and no one can hear me. All right, so there are 3 simple steps if you want to achieve investing success. If you don't follow these steps, it's going to be very difficult, but not impossible. But it will not be easy. So let's go ahead and start. So the first one is to, number 1, and you've heard me say this before, but I'm going to give you some more details around it, is be consistent. Consistent. You guys know my handwriting and stuff is not great. So when you sign up for any investing account, whether it's Public, which is one of my favorite apps, whether it's Fidelity, which is another one of my favorites, or Cash App, or anywhere else, the one feature that you need to have is one of those automatic investments or automatic deposit. So I'll just put auto pilot. So that is the one of the things you need to have. So I don't care if it's $100 a month, $1,000 a month, whatever it is that you can afford, you have to make sure that you are consistent in that. Yesterday we talked about investing in index funds and how $100 ended up being $163,000. We talked about how $100 a month, going back to like 1992, how $100 a month in Costco was like $540,000. That does not happen unless you are consistent. If you are not consistent, you're not going to get that compound interest. And that is the key to this game. You could have put $100 a month in a savings account and not been anywhere close to the numbers that we had talked about yesterday. So number 1 is being consistent. If you're not going to be consistent, none of this is going to work, because you can invest in a great stock one time and that still not be enough for you. All right, so we got number 1, be consistent. Number 2 is choose quality. All right, so when I say choose quality, I mean quality stocks, quality index funds, or just index funds in general. So I'll put index. I'll also put this. So I'll put S&P 500 companies. And I'll put a little asterisk here and explain what that means. All right, so yesterday and throughout the last existence, I've been talking about index funds for quite some time. So again, index funds primarily own entire swaths of the market. So if I have a US index fund, it's going to own all the stocks in the US. If I have a technology index fund, it's going to own all the technology stocks. Same thing with oil, so on and so forth. I prefer the US stock market index funds because they own every single thing. I don't need to sit around and guess. I don't need to ask questions, and the fees are very small. Yesterday, again, with the 163,000, that was an index fund. Most index funds, not all, most of them are very, very close. They're going to get you really close to the same thing. I'm going to give you a few examples just to give you some context. So VTI, VOO, the one we talked about yesterday, SPY, another one, ITOT. All of these are index funds. All of these are going to get you very, 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 very similar ones. There are hundreds of others. They don't have to be this exact one. I just want to give you an idea. And no, I don't think it makes sense for you to get two of them. I think if you get one, you're good, because if this one owns the entire stock market, guess what? This one does too, and these pretty much do the exact same thing. So you don't need two of them. However, again, you want to choose quality. Now here, where I have the S&P 500 companies, I tend to lean towards the S&P 500 because they are the 500 largest companies in the U.S., meaning that they have some sort of, you could say, credibility, if you will. If you want to, and you guys know I'm a big college football fan, I want to go with the big conferences, right? I'm thinking about the Big 12, the Big 10, the SEC, the Bamas, the Oklahomas, things of that nature. So in my mind, I want to make sure that I am picking a team or a company that has a very solid track record, especially within the last 5 years or so. And more importantly, even within the last year. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for that one school I never heard of to like go through and win everything, right? I'm not looking for the company that's super, super tiny and may blow up and do something the next year. I'm also not looking for the broke team that I hope and pray is going to be the next thing. One example, and we've talked about this many times before, I'm not looking at Hertz. Could you have made money on Hertz? Maybe, maybe not. But it is bankrupt. We know that the CEO and leaders from that company, not me, leaders from the company say, hey, look, our shares are going to be worthless. That's not where I want to be. That's not where you want to put your money. This is not a gamble. This is an investment. So no, we're taking those things out. Personally, I'm not looking at oil. Personally, I'm not looking at the airlines, at least not yet, because a lot of them are flailing. Macy's, JCPenney's, these are people who are on the ropes. Not a place I'm looking to invest. I'm looking for quality. I need people on my team. I like the team analogy. I'm looking for people on my team who I know do well. Like, give me the Michael Jordans, give me the Kobe's, give me the LeBrons. Don't give me, Sasa Vujacic and I don't know, some player I've never heard of, right? Like, give me the squad, give me the all-star team. I don't want these bums. I don't want these scrubs. And just like in sports, like, could scrubs do well sometimes? Yeah, but 9 times out of 10, you're going to be fine. So choose the quality companies. Don't just pick the name, but actually look and see how well they're doing. Now, we've done that. And my next part of the system, and we'll summarize this in just a second, is number 3, be disciplined. And I bet I'm going to spell this wrong. Disciplined. All right, y'all know I can't spell and stuff. Please don't judge me. I know math though. I can do that. Or I'll just change this and do regular check-ins. All right. So you want to do regular check-ins, and what I mean by this is you can do every 6 months, and I'll show you what this means. Every 6 months, or you can do every year. I'll do just once per year, or at most At most, you can do 4 times a year per year. All right. Thank you for the person who put disciplined in the chat. I appreciate that. I just was never great at spelling for some reason. All right, especially when I'm writing on a tablet. This doesn't do well. All right, I am human. All right, so regular check-ins, aka be disciplined. So every 6 months, every year, or no more than 4 times a year. And I'm going to explain this process and how it helps you. So number one, we've had studies for quite some time. One of them was in a book called Your Money in Your Mind by Jason Zweig. And essentially it says that those who start to check their investments more than 4 times a year tend to do worse because you checked it and it was down, you overreacted, you sold when you shouldn't have sold, you bought things when you shouldn't have bought, and you overplay your position. This is very similar to electronic devices where if you have it on the charger all the time, some devices, you can actually do battery damage where you kept on charger for 3 years and all of a sudden the minute you take it off, it starts to die. You don't want to overplay yourself. So what I do is actually set a calendar invite, let's say the end of June and the end of December every year. That tells me to go back and reevaluate the investments that I have. I go back, I check, who am I keeping on this team? Who am I kicking off this team? Who is going to help me over the next 6 months? And that's one of the easiest ways to kind of do your investments. It's not like, yes, you want to hold your investments for the long term. Preferably, if I could just invest one time in great companies, I pray they're the best companies for the next 30 years. But in reality, 30 years, a lot of things can change. Apple today was not the same Apple in the early 80s and 90s. Apple was struggling at that time. It wasn't until Steve Jobs came back and they dropped the iPod and the iPhone that Apple is like this great thing today. Things like Amazon, Netflix didn't really exist. Well, Amazon did. It was back in the 90s, but Amazon is not what we know it today. So you always want to go back and reevaluate. So what I do is call these... Yes, and it also helps to control your emotions. If I know that I'm only going back and checking my investments at a certain point in time, I'm not going to be emotional. I'm not going to flip out because the stock didn't do what I wanted it to do. So what I'm doing, now I personally do every 6 months. Again, you can do it every 3 months, which is 4 times a year. Or you can do it every year. The differences are relatively small. I just like the 6 months. I like doing it in June. I like doing it in December. It's just easier for me. So what, for example, let's say if it's June, and what I would do is say now it's June, and then we'll do December. And I'm y'all can throw some stocks in here, just to throw some names up here. I will start the list. Whatever stock you want to put on it, just tell me, and we'll throw it up here, and I'll just kind of show you how that process works. So I'll say Google for now. That is not a G. We'll say Google. We will say, I know people always bring this up, so we'll put American Airlines. We'll see how that does. We'll put Southwest Airlines and whatever else you guys come up with. So essentially, I would come in, I would buy these stocks, and then I'm going to hold them. I'm not really going to check on the market that much. Even if I do check the market, I'm not going to make any, it's a good one, Visa. I'm not going to make any changes until December. I am holding because we don't know. I can be emotional tomorrow and sell out, which is not what I want to do. We'll add MasterCard. Y'all, these are 2 very good ones. We got Verizon. All right. Sometimes stocks go in very weird cycles where, for a month it's terrible. And then next thing you know, you look up and it's fine. You never know. We'll also add Amazon, AMZN. All right, great. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So what we would do is say, now that I'm disciplined, right? I'm not emotional. I'm disciplined. I went through and I bought these stocks in June. I'm going to come back and I'll put June 20. Because in this case, it's 2020. We could add some more years. So I'm disciplined. So let's go through the steps. So I'm consistent. So every month I'm putting in $100, just for example, into each of these stocks. And if you want to take $100 and divide it by 7, you are more than welcome to do that. So you can do that, right? You can say, and I'll actually do this. I'll make it even better. Let me do this. So we got 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to add Costco. And I don't know what FICO is. But we're gonna add FICO too. This way I can do this. So if I'm investing $100 a month, 100 per month, okay? So what I could do, if I'm doing fractional shares, I can do $10 in each of these stocks every single month. Now my return is gonna be amazing, probably not, but still. So we got $10 in each of these, and let me just do it this way. $10, and we're just going to copy that across the board. Okay, so we're putting in $10 in these every single month. Now, in June, I look at it and I say, okay, well, we think Google, American Airlines, Southwest, Visa, so on and so forth, we think those are going to be good. Now, I come back in December, and I come back and reevaluate and say, which one of these do I want to keep? We'll say Google did fine. We'll say American Airlines did fine. We'll say Southwest, we'll say Visa, and these are guesses, right? We don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 months. We can say MasterCard didn't do well, Verizon did not do well, and for the sake of keeping everything simple, we'll just say this. So that means that now in December, this is my easy, disciplined approach, that now in December 2020, I have 2 spots on my roster that are open. I need 2. Ooh, let's make this bolder. I need 2 quality stocks, maybe 3 actually, to fill these spots. 1, 2, and then 3. So y'all can throw in any stocks that you want, but what I'm doing is I'm taking a very easy, disciplined, non-emotional approach. So I'm looking at the stock market and say, did the stock market go up? If it did, great. All my stocks should have went up too. If it didn't, for some reason, you got to go. And I will come back in June 2021, reevaluate. Come back in December 2021, reevaluate. And it's just as simple and unemotional as that. All I need is a calendar reminder to check the market on this date, and that's it. All of the oh my God, what's going on in the stock market today? It takes all of that out of it, because I know that what I'm holding today, what I have today, doesn't need to be messed with or changed until December. And another good example of this year was the coronavirus. When the market dropped like crazy in late February, early March, you wouldn't have worried because you weren't supposed to be checking the market anyway until June. And once we hit June, the market was back up and everything was relatively okay. The market wasn't on fire at that point in time. Now, we would just wait until December and hope things hold the same or at least are better off. So that's the advantage of not being able to react right then in the moment. Now, if you did it every 3 months, which is 4 times a year, you could have checked it in March, made some changes, checked it back in June at the exact same time we're checking it now. Then you come back in September, then you do it again in December. So whatever it is, this regular check-in, this discipline, this is what's going to keep you sane, because you can have the best investments in the world. If you don't have discipline, you're going to sell out of great stocks and go and buy terrible ones. So you got to make sure that you have that discipline. So it's extremely, extremely important. So this is my system that I use. Again, you can do it every 6 months. You can do it every year. Just don't do it more than 4 times a year. And that's quarterly. Either way will work. You just don't want to do it more than that. You could also, again, make sure that you choose quality. Choose quality. If you hear the stock is going bankrupt, it's probably not for you. It's just probably not for you. Just keep it pushing. Get you Nike, get you Costco, get you Verizon, whatever it is, you know it's going to be there. And you can actually sleep a lot easier at night. That's a part of it too. You have to think about how you are as a person and whether or not you want to take on that stress and that worry about waking up the next morning and hearing that your company is bankrupt. I don't have to worry about that if I get Apple. I don't have to worry about that if I have MasterCard. I don't have to worry about it if it's Visa. We all know they're going to be all right, at least for the next 6 months. We know that for a fact, right? And then lastly, you want to be consistent. Each of these 3 steps help you along the way. If you miss one of these steps, you can end up in a world of hurt. If you're not consistent, you're not going to make that much money. At the end of the day, that little $10 investment, the little $100 investment, even if, let's say I put $100 in Amazon and, oh my God, it's $2,000 after 20 years. That's a great return, but like $2,000 is not going to make you financially free. It's a great start. I will gladly take $2K, but that's not going to be the biggest, best thing in the world. If you are consistent, but you don't choose quality, then you can consistently lose money. You got to make sure that you're choosing quality stocks or just getting index funds. If you have an index fund, I'm holding it. I don't need to really go back and get in and out of it. That's something that's consistent. You just keep with it. And then lastly, you want to make sure that you are disciplined, that you have these regular check-ins with yourself or with the financial planner to make sure that you are in the right spots and that you are on top of things and that you take yourself out of bad investments if they are bad. The other thing too about why number 3 is so important is because sometimes it will take you some weeks. It can take you a week or a month to realize that a stock is very good or very bad. Because if you lose money over a day, that's not really a great indicator by one single day. One example, again, and I've talked about this before. One example was Nike. Nike back in, I'm just going to put December, and it was around December, and this is December 2019. Nike was like right around $100 or so per share. All right. And somebody mentioned Nike. We pretty much know Nike's a very solid company. However, coronavirus hit, and about March, I'll put March 2020, right? By February/March, it was down to $88 per share. That's a steep drop off in what is essentially like 60 to 90 days. Now today, or really like last week, because I didn't check it today, we'll put June, and y'all can, if you have an app, feel free to give me the most accurate price. As of right now, it was right around like 103, 104. So over this time span, December, we were at 100 or so, then we were down to 88, and now we're at 103. Sometimes it will take you a few months to let things play out. And if I reacted terribly right here, I would have freaked out and sold out of it. But in reality, I would have just come back and made my money back. That's where the discipline comes in. If you don't have discipline, you can miss out on a great stock. And then guess what? You're going to come in June and try to buy it at 103. When in reality, if you were consistent and kept buying, it was $100 or $10 or whatever back in February or March, you would have actually made money from that. So that is the power and the process of doing that. All right. So so today is 99. All right, so today we can put 99. Either way, even if it's at 99, you still made money from February, and you're just $1 off from where you were back in December. So anyway, that's all to say that sometimes it takes time to identify whether something is good or not. So it's not something within a week, oh my God, it's the greatest stock ever. Sometimes it's going to take you a few months to allow things to grow, to allow the train to leave the station and get to where it needs to go. All right, now it is question time. I appreciate Vincent for adding that. That was helpful for what Nike is today, so it can be a little bit more accurate, which is great. All right, so let's go ahead and answer some questions. All right, so choose quality stocks, dollar cost averaging. Yes, you definitely want to do that. What top 3 online brokers would you recommend for beginning investors outside of your 401k? That is a great question. So I have 3 that immediately come to mind. Fidelity is my go-to. This is the reason why I like Fidelity is A, I can do fractional shares. B, I can do automatic investments, which is 2 of the 3 things that we talked about. C, I get to open a lot of different accounts. So there aren't many like apps and online brokerages that allow me to do a 529 plan for my son, or a custodial account for my son, or a joint account with me and my wife. Doesn't make these other places bad places, but if I can do more things at one place, I like those things. So Fidelity is my go-to. That's where the majority of stuff is. It's not all my stuff because it doesn't do it. Fidelity does everything, but doesn't mean it's everything that I like the way I like it. But again, Fidelity is my number one. Then Public. Public is my number two. Public is my, I can't write and talk at the same time. Public is a very fun investing app, and it allows you to A, invest in fractional shares. B, it allows you to follow other investors, which is actually really cool. I can post a link in the chat in a few minutes. But it's really cool. It's easy. It's simple. I think you just log in and it says, hey, do you want to invest in these stocks? You click yes. It's kind of like a tweet where you talk about why, and you follow the investors and see what they're doing and see how they're investing. So like even with Public, you can look and see like, here are the 6 or 7 stocks that I have. And the cool thing is, like, I sit here and tell you guys that I buy these things and wait until December. You actually see me do that. So, you know, it's you get to practice what you preach, at least from my perspective. And you can see that while my portfolio is making money, it's boring. It works, but it's boring. So I may not be the most exciting investor to follow on there, but it's actually pretty cool. All right. So we got Fidelity, we got Public. The third one, and these are just my personal ones, just these are the ones I use the most. Cash App is another easy, fun one for me. It has the automatic investment option. Public doesn't have that just yet. Very simple, very easy to use. I can invest in almost everything I need to invest in there. And I like accessibility and I like ease. I don't like to come into my investing account and be confused about what's going on. TD Ameritrade is for certain types of people. It's just personally not for me. I shouldn't have to sit here and stare at my account to figure out what's going on. There are a lot of times when I have my TD account, I'm like, okay, what is this, before I press the wrong button. I never have those questions with Fidelity, Public, or Cash App. Personal, bias, or however you want to present that, I'm just being straight with you. These are my three. It doesn't mean others are bad. I've heard great things about Ally Investing as well. Webull, Webull, is another good app. But these are my three. My thing is, if I can keep it, the simpler it is, the more disciplined I can be. The more disciplined I can be, the better I can be as an investor. I like clarity. I don't like to look at a screen and be confused. I don't like a whole bunch of charts and graphs because I don't think that's actually necessary. So these are my three, and I'm going to move to the next question. All right. I have a UTMA for my daughter. For those that don't know, the UTMA is an acronym for Uniform Trust to Minors Act. It's a custodial account for, obviously, kids. All right. I've invested in stocks and mutual funds. Do you think I should add bonds for her portfolio? I'm also checking out Public. Great question. It depends on the age of your child and how aggressive you want to be. So my son is 2. I'm not having any bonds for him. I'm probably not going to really get any bonds for him until probably he's an adult. So once he's like, 20 or so, I'm going to start adding some bonds at that point in time. The thing is, again, if you're investing in quality, especially good mutual funds that you had mentioned, they're probably going to be okay because they have so many years ahead of them. Another thing that you can do, the rule of thumb is take 100, and we talked about this the other day, minus your age. And this is just a rule of thumb, and it's not scientific per se. And that's going to tell you the percent stocks that they should have. So again, if my son is 2, 100 minus 2, you're going to get 98. I told you I could do the math part. It's the spelling part. So you get 98% stocks and 2% bonds. Like, do I really want to go through and get like 2% bonds? It's not that serious. So that's the non-scientific way if you want to do that. Again, until he's, I guess by this logic, until he's like 10, 15, maybe I'll consider bonds at that point. But right now, I mean, he invests for 10 years, he'll be 10, or in this case, 12, right? Once at that point, then I'll reevaluate. If your kid is already a teenager, then maybe like 10% at most. But you want to be aggressive as they're young, because once they're in their 25, 30, that's when they can take on a little bit more bonds. But they have the advantage of being very, very, very aggressive and recovering from stuff like this, like the Great Recession and other crashes. All right, scrolling through and take a few more questions. I know it's a little off topic, but are the paid research sites, Yahoo, Premium, Morningstar, Zacks, worth the money, or are the free ones just as effective in analyzing stocks? Is there one that you recommend? That is a good question. I think at the end of the day, it depends on what type of stock you're looking for. So my process, let me see if it's going to take me back to my screen. All right, so my process that I teach in my courses that I use for myself does not require these extra paid analyses tool. The thing is, let me see if I can find it. All right, so the first thing you need to do is find out what type of investor you are, but additionally, finding the perfect investments for you. Will that research do that is the question. So if I go through, I have some tools, maybe some of my students can tell you as well. Like I've got tools in here that you can do within 5 minutes. It's all free. And it'll say Amazon, Netflix, and Google, I'm just picking stuff off the top of my head, are great stocks for you. I can identify that very easily without the research. Why pay somebody to end up with the exact same stocks that you could have had for free or from learning on your own? So I don't think it is necessary. It could be helpful. If you're not somebody who is, has financial experience per se, then maybe. But I low key, I'm really not paying more than like $5 or $10 a month for that. That's just me. I think you can do the same, if not better, by just taking the time to kind of learn on your own. So personal opinion there. But that was a good question. I have Schwab, like it a lot. Fractional share slices. Yeah, Schwab is good. I personally don't have them, but Schwab is good. I saw a commercial for them for the fractional shares the other day, so that's cool. All right. Yeah, it's all about personal preferences. That's all what it comes down to, because even the stocks that I like doesn't mean my wife like them. And it doesn't mean it could work for you. Some people say, look, I'm sticking with Pepsi because I like how that stock moves. Everybody isn't fit for Tesla. Tesla's just not for me. It does too much for me. So it's all about personal preference and what fits for you. I have 5 different 401ks from previous employers. Do you recommend pulling the money into one vehicle? Personally, yes. I like to stay organized. And I think it's going to benefit you. So what you would do is call it a rollover. So first, step 1 is open a rollover IRA at like a Schwab or a Fidelity or an Ally, whatever one you like. They all will do very similar for you. Whoever has the best customer service, that's who you need to go with. And you want to start to roll over those IRAs into that particular account. The reason you want to do that is A, it'll be organized, it'll be in one place, but B, you can also contribute to it, because in most cases, once you leave that employer, you can't put money into it anymore. That's it. So you want to pull those into one IRA, one rollover IRA, and then put whatever amount of money you can put into it every month, every week, whatever, and then invest from there. So I would recommend doing that. It makes things easy, simple, and clear. And let me go back here. You can continue these steps by being consistent. Once they're in one place, you can be consistent. And that's what's going to help you to continue growing your wealth. All right, so that is it for me today. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you for sharing. That is the easiest and best way to pay your boy. Also, make sure you go to buildingbread.com/tools. You'll be brought to this page, and I show you everything that I know when it comes to investing, even if you are a beginner. It doesn't have to be complicated, it doesn't have to be hard, and you don't have to lose all your money. There are ways to reduce the risk of doing that. There are ways to build consistent investments over time. All right, so that's it for me. Again, thank you guys for coming out. Thank you for sharing, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.